award of major happenings for Liberia and the rest of the world. Today is Tuesday, the 27th day of January 2026, and I'm Alexandra. I'm representing. These are the top stories. The government of Liberia boasts of creating 70,000 short and medium-term jobs for Liberians. Central Bank of Liberia conducts financial education training in Riverside County. Mixed reactions greet President Joseph Boyga's prayer and a message to the legislature. And away from home, new data shows China's financial support to developing countries is declining. These stories, the news bulletin sports, the news in simple English and French, plus our foreign developments are packaged for you on this edition of Newsline. But first, Grace Tower says the pace with the news bulletin.
The government has disclosed that it created 70,000 short and medium-term jobs. According to government, the jobs were created across several sectors, including infrastructure, agriculture, social protection, and small businesses, among others. The disclosure was made by President Joseph Boakai during his annual message to members of the legislature on Monday.
On addressing banking and structure control, including investment and rules management.
President Boakai said the Youth Entrepreneurship and Investment Bank project launched in 2025 is expected to support 30,000 youth-led businesses, creating over 120,000 direct and indirect jobs for youth. The Liberian leader also announced that a national employment acceleration strategy focused on agriculture, public works, skills training to support small enterprises is being finalized to create jobs and collect employment data. Meanwhile, President Joseph Boakai has commended Vice President Jeremiah Poon, chair of the Special Presidential Ad hoc Committee on Price Stabilization. President Boakai said the committee's work over the months has led to the reduction in the prices of basic commodities on the market. The Liberian leader stated that prices have eased for rice, flour, and for those bringing relief for families. Delivering his third annual message to members of the 55th legislature on Monday, President Joseph Boakai promised to hold businesses that are found exploiting consumers accountable.
The price paid for acting to prevent unjustified price increases that harm our people. Let me be clear. Business that exploits consumers will be held accountable.
According to the president, a 25 kg bag of Indian parboiled rice is sold at $14.50, while the price of flour has dropped from 35 US dollars per bag. President Boakai said fuel has also stabilized at about $4 per gallon, a move that has helped to reduce transport costs. The Central Bank of Liberia, CBL, is currently conducting financial education and training for stakeholders in Riverside County. Beneficiaries of the training include civil society organizations, youth groups, marketing associations, and the Joint Security. The CBL says the initiative is intended to empower citizens with financial management skills and improve personal control over finances. Authorities of the bank say the program was launched after observing increasing cases of wasteful spending among many Liberians. In another development, Cesco City Corporation is expected to distribute about 40 waste baskets across the city. The move is part of efforts to strengthen waste management and promote environmental cleanliness in the city. The government has announced over 63,000 new connections on the national grid. The connections cover communities in Montserrado and electrify 124 villages in Grand Bassa, Riverside, Bong, and Nimba. The government said it is also focusing on stabilizing the energy sector and expanding assets as part of the arrest agenda and its national energy compact. Through these initiatives, 17,000 households now have access to power for the first time. In his third annual address, President Joseph Boakai said electricity tariffs have been cut to ease household costs, positioning energy as a driver for growth.
Over 83,000 new connections were established, covering communities in Montserrat and electrify 124 villages in Grand Bassa, Riverside, Bone, and Nimba.
Through the Rural and Renewable Energy Agency, the government noted that it has used solar power to provide electricity for 88 clinics across 14 counties in rural regions. President Boakai added that Harper, Backlaville, Cowichan, and Zozo have each benefited from 117 streetlights as part of the Lighting of Rural Communities initiative. The total of 3,791 streetlights has been installed through the Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea CLSG project. Meanwhile, the chief executive said the rural electrification program is benefiting over 124 towns and villages in Nimba, Grand Bassa, Riverside, and Bong counties. The program also provided electricity to both the ABC and Cotterton universities, 2 hospitals, and is strengthening the cross-border grid in Nimba, Bong, and Margini counties. Mount Coffee hydropower remained reliable, outages decreased, and electricity sales rose by 24%, the president stated. Revenue topped 71 million US dollars and collection efficiency reached 94%. According to the Liberian leader, further investment in reforms at the LEC will aim to address inefficiencies, stabilize the utility, and ensure reliable service. The government is reporting major reforms in Liberia's environmental sector. The government says it strengthened environmental protection by enforcing key laws, updating climate commitments, improving access to climate finance, and the establishment of the Liberian climate carbon market, among others. President Boakai mentioned in his annual message the establishment of a modern environmental laboratory and the ratification of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement.
Committed to responsible stewardship, ensuring that environmental protection, economic growth, and prosperity band together for this generation.
The Liberian leader expressed the country's strong commitment to responsible stewardship, ensuring environmental protection, economic growth, and national prosperity. The president added that land governance remains a persistent challenge that affects livelihood, food security, culture, the economy, climate change, and poor management, which has led to several land gaps. The Education Ministry's Excel project has been described as a cardinal to boosting Liberia's education system. The project was launched in December 2025 by government and the World Bank in Monrovia. Speaking on Monday at the capital, President Joseph Boakai emphasized the transformative strides Liberia has made in education. The president noted that the reforms have restored dignity to teachers, expanded digital access to remote villages, and built a stronger foundation for future leaders. According to him, the government, in collaboration with the World Bank and the Global Partnership for Education, launched the 2024 Unified Data-Driven Reform to guarantee access to quality learning for all children. He said over 2,000 qualified volunteer teachers have been placed on government payroll, with more than 166 schools benefiting fully equipped computer labs. The executive has called on members of the legislature to take decisive action to repeal the People's Redemption Council PRC decree. President Joseph Boakai said the PRC decree no longer serves its intended purpose, noting that the country has evolved significantly since the war. He said repealing the decree is necessary to ensure smooth governance and the full functioning of state institutions.
Was submitted to repeal People's Redemption Council era decree that created public institutions that no longer serve today's government.
Speaking Monday at the grounds of the capital, President Boakai said the proposal is part of broader efforts to strengthen governance and consolidate democratic gains. Meanwhile, the president has submitted several bills to the legislature for consideration and enactment. Maymouth Partners for Democratic Development has described President Joseph Boakai's annual message as a comprehensive outline of government's reform priorities. Maymouth says the address presents a coherent policy direction with emphasis on macroeconomic stability, domestic revenue mobilization, infrastructure development, governance, and anti-corruption reforms, among others. In the release, Maymouth also acknowledged verifiable progress in areas such as domestic revenue growth, improved audit compliance, reaching 37%, strengthened payroll integrity, and expanded service coverage across sectors. However, Maymouth noted that major implementation gaps remain, pointing out that more than 60% of audit recommendations are yet to be implemented. Meanwhile, mining engineer Adolphus Glikia has praised the ministry's leadership for prioritizing staff development through advanced professional training in explosive management. He lauded the senior management of the ministry for providing opportunities that enable employees to gain modern technical knowledge essential to effective regulation of the mining sector. According to Glikia, the newly acquired skills will strengthen the ministry's ability to ensure that companies handling explosive materials operate professionally, safely, and in compliance with environmental protection standards. The Mines and Energy Ministry says it has taken a significant step towards strengthening oversight of Liberia's mineral sector. The ministry noted that such step follows successful completion of an international explosive transport management training by three of its staff members, mining engineer Douglas Glikia, along with Fred Johnson and Maxwell Siki, passed all required assessments under the Transport Explosive Risk Management basic course conducted by a Spain-based explosive management organization. The three officials are responsible for engaging industrial mining companies on the transportation and handling of explosive materials used in the mineral processing. More than 1,800 traditional leaders were appointed at the National Assembly of Chiefs, serving a major milestone in government's decentralization efforts. In his annual message Monday, President Joseph Boakai recounted that the government advanced institutional reforms, passing the act establishing the Ministry of Local Government. The Liberian leader also mentioned that government continues to apply decentralization efforts by deploying county service center coordinators across the country. He further noted that in order to bring services closer to citizens, passport centers were opened in Grand Jide and Bond County. The president named county development planning units and tourism assessment as elements that strengthen fiscal management and create a comprehensive review that leads to the reclassification of cities based on legal criteria. Nearly 10 metric tons of illegal drugs were confiscated in 2025 by the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. The arrest of more than 550 suspects in 2025 has been credited to progress made by government in the security sector. In his annual address on Monday, President Joseph Boakai said these successes are due to government support to the fight against drug. The Liberian leader also outlined reforms in criminal prosecution, along with the upgrading of correctional and judicial facilities across the country, as key gains achieved by his administration. He highlighted the provision of logistical support to major law enforcement agencies and the renovation of military barracks nationwide as part of government's ongoing security reforms. The president noted that the Liberia Fire Service and other key security institutions also recorded significant improvements in 2025, signifying increased public confidence in the justice and security sectors. President Boakai at the same time reaffirmed his government's commitment to making Liberia safe for all. And President Joseph Boakai says progress has been made in improving the lives of children living in the streets across the country. According to the president, over 8,000 street children were integrated into safe environment. Additionally, over 2,700 school dropouts were enrolled in schools under the Save the Future project, and over 13,000 children living in streets were reunited with their families. Of that number, the Liberian leader stated that 4,000 have returned to school, while over 3,700 caregivers were given grants and vocational training for sustainable livelihood. Under the realized project, President Boakai said the government have provided $1 billion Liberian dollars income support through cash transfer to over 15,000 households across the country. These efforts, according to the president, aim to ensure equal and fair opportunity for every citizen, regardless of their political, social, and religious affiliation.
Thanks to Grace Saturday for the news bulletin. It's a regular feature on the Newsline. She will be back later with the following developments. As you may have heard in the news, the government of Liberia says it created 70,000 short and medium-term jobs. Those jobs, according to government, were created across several sectors, including infrastructure, agriculture, social protection, and small businesses, among others. President Boakai made the disclosure on Monday during his annual message to members of the 55th legislature.
Our creation